Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Kevin Wright, co-owner of What's for Lunch. And today we're going to be talking about all about his journey to business ownership, his best practices, what he's learned, challenges, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business like What's for Lunch. So if this is your first time to the show, be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Kevin, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is going
Well,
to be fun.
it's going to be fun. I like to have a lot of fun on the show, and I love hearing about businesses like yours. I should have eaten before this show. I'm gonna bet, but here we are. So, why don't you just set up the stage for our audience and just share a little bit of background about you and about your business?
Okay. My wife and I have owned the business for 16 years now. We purchased it in 2009. That was our first time into business ownership, but prior to that, I spent about 15 years throwing parties on other people's money. So
Mhm.
I came out of the corporate world and kind of into this because we'd been married for a few years, knew we wanted to have kids, and we wanted something that would allow me not to be on the road 80% of the time and her to be able to stay home with the kids as much as possible. So we started looking for this. We found this business for sale. And like brand new business owners and first time parents, we thought it would be a great idea to buy a business and become parents in the same year. So we bought our business in February and had our first daughter in December, and it's kind of been a whirlwind since.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things as parents, you don't know what you don't know. And it's so easy looking in, right? And then you're like, wait a minute, nobody told me this.
Yeah, nobody told me a lot. That's truly one of those things to where they, our daughter was in the NICU for about 7 days,
Mm,
and so finally we're released and we're getting ready to go home, and they bring this beautiful little bundle down, and we put her in the car, and they go, all right, good luck. And I'm going, no, wait, you guys got to come with me. I don't know. We
I
don't know what we're
know.
doing. What are you talking about? You can't, I didn't have to take a test or anything. Come on,
I know. They don't
So,
even they have to put them in the car for you because you don't even know how to do the seatbelt. You're like,
right. I know.
wait.
Could have duct taped her to the top or something. But so yeah, that was our first year in business. And as well as just after the 2008 housing crash. So that first
Mm,
year or two was a huge challenge just to try to figure a lot out.
yeah.
Um, but perseverance, determination, and desperation, I think, were the first
Mm.
three drivers.
That's funny. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Um, and so that's we started in February 2009, and we're still going. So
That's amazing.
um,
I want to dive in a little bit about purchasing because there's a lot of business owners out there that either want to sell or want to purchase like you did. Can you kind of dive into that process? You said, we found it, but what did that really look like? And how did you do your due diligence?
well, we wanted to. I grew up in the food industry back in my hometown in Georgia, and my mom owned a couple of restaurants. And of course, just like every other Southern kid, I was staring at my grandmother's cooking and wandering around with aunts and moms and uncles and whoever else, just kind of absorbing all of this and my mom's chefs and watching them and just, was kind of just always very interested in it. And then
Yeah.
kind of moved from there and tried to become a rock star in my 20s, and that didn't work out. So but throughout the course of that, I had typical musician jobs, lots of bars, lots of restaurants,
Hmm.
lots of food deliveries, so I always kind of found myself around food or service industry regardless. And I've always liked that because I grew up in it.
Hmm.
So when we were looking for something to do and trying to figure out what we wanted to do and how we were going to go about this next adventure, we started digging around in, local businesses for sale, and it was like, do this or do that or whatever. So we kind of finally found this company. that was for sale and had been up and running for 3 or 4 years, give or take, somewhere in there. And for what it was easily run. It didn't have seemed to have a lot of moving parts, and it was during the week and no weekends
Oh.
and things like that. So that kind of really struck our interest there.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and kind of checked it out, talked to the owner, um, felt that this would be a good match for us, just because we kind of had that same interest. And my wife is very good with numbers and with words and with the stuff that I'm not. Um, and I love to execute, just as my previous job
Mm.
had been. It's just part of, like, kind of starting at the beginning and watching it come to fruition, and you see your idea build. So
Yeah.
that's what was really interesting to me. And plus, I was kind of walking in and seeing a lot of things that I felt needed to be changed in the company that just
Mm.
wasn't happening, that would make it more eco-friendly, more streamlined, more
Mm-hmm.
from scratch, more, just kind of building this thing up and redeveloping all of this. So
Mm-hmm.
we kind of jumped in feet first and ran with it. But I mean, I hope that answered your question. But basically, there's
Yeah.
just we started just searching online. I mean, this was 16 years ago, and a lot of the websites then were somewhat antiquated today's standards. But it was just kind of like digging through almost like a Craigslist for businesses for
Mm-hmm.
sale, and looking at different industries that we're interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
So,
you think about that season and knowing what you know now, what are some of the things that you wish you would have done or done differently?
I would have negotiated our terms differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it would have put us up for a much easier financial situation throughout the course of that year. That's one of the first things, is that I think that right there to me would have been my first do-over, is
Yeah.
renegotiated those terms of purchase. Just in the sense of, like, um, we'll put down X amount now, and then in 3 months we'll put down X amount more, and then in 3 months we'll put down the rest, or whatever it is, so
Mm.
that you're seeing what
Mm.
because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, we didn't know that in what it was in May of that year, the bottom fell out of everything,
Mm.
or June, or whenever it was, somewhere in there. And so you're kind of scrambling at that point, because all of your clients are corporate clients. That's our
Mm.
primary. We don't do weddings. We don't do special events necessarily. We have over the course of the years, just because we've kind of ventured into other options, but found quickly that that wasn't our niche.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do well is get food to people at their businesses,
Mm.
and we've worked that into a very streamlined situation. So that would have been probably my first
Yeah.
go-to, just to
Yeah.
kind of set us up for a little bit better financial freedom, I guess. And you're kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, now you're having to juggle things you didn't know that you were going to.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It's very good advice for others and those listening. So you're 16 years in.
Mhm.
I'm you can't do this alone, you and your wife. So can
No,
we dive into team a little bit, and how did you acquire the team or start building that?
we have the most amazing employees. Um,
Awesome.
for the service industry, we're a bit of a unicorn. Like I said, we don't work weekends. We don't work
Mm-hmm.
nights. My
Nice.
staff, my morning staff comes in around 5 or 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on the day. They're done by noon or 1 o'clock
Oh my goodness.
and
That's
gone for the
amazing.
day. Um, then we have a crew that's at an offsite place that we manage, and they come in anywhere between 7 and 9, and they're done by 3:30.
Wow.
And then we have a couple of nighttime prep guys that they pick up shifts from their other jobs and work for us, 20-ish hours a week, just for extra money. So they bounce in after they get off their other job and come in and do some prep for us for the next day.
Wow.
Um, None of this would happen without them. And on top of that, we have an operations manager that I swear she can read my mind. Um, she's
That's
just
good.
unbelievable. Yeah, no, she's amazing. She's very intuitive and challenging, but also like solving problems. It's just,
Mm,
it's one of those things that growing up and being taught from my parents, and growing up in a small business and my parents telling me, you never ask anyone to do anything you're not willing to do
mm,
yourself. You've got to have people to do those, but never think that you're not above
mm,
doing that, regardless of what it is. Treat people right, treat people fair. And the biggest advice of any relative, my grandmother said this. Me, my brother, my dad, everyone grew up with this. If you mind the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves.
mm.
So that's
Good.
so that all of that combined is kind of, I mean, I tell them most of the time, I'm like, I just show up and wait for y'all to tell me what you want me to do. Because I mean, it's just running, it runs very well. And I talk to everyone on my team, every one of my managers, at least daily, just touching base. Where are we? This is what I've got going on. Do you need me for anything? Do you have any issues that we need to take care of? What's coming up, or what? So
Mhm.
it's just a matter of it's communication, it's support, it's respect. It's just I
Yeah.
think that it's kind of like the saying is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I I want the people around me that I can work with
Mhm.
and hopefully build up and hopefully support and guide as best as I have my ability to do so.
Mhm.
But knowing that we're all a team, that it can't happen
Yeah.
without any one person
Yeah.
that's not there. We have 23 employees,
Mhm.
and we can't do any day of the week without
Yeah.
everyone that's there.
Yeah. It's so true. I love how here in just over 16 years have you've grown from struggling with new kids, just you and your wife, to 16 years later, a business that's thriving with 23 employees. What do you attribute that success to?
um I think that it's a large part of it is just putting out a good quality product,
Mm,
giving people what you tell them they're going to give you. Never promise someone you can't deliver on. I mean, we've turned down business because I couldn't deliver what they deserved.
mm,
So and I tell my customers having to do that, it's like, I don't want you as a customer for today. I want you as a customer for years. So I need you to know that you can trust me to not take on
yeah.
something just because.
Mm,
So they've got a job to do. We're there to help them do their job. So we can't make them look bad. Our job is to, we're the
yeah.
man behind the curtain, kind of making them look good. And that's our job. So
Yeah.
if we can't get it to you on time with everything that you need, it doesn't matter how good the food is.
Mm.
We can have a Michelin star in catering, whatever that is, but but if we can't get the food to the people when they need it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that we've grown a business based on respect, responsibility, and just, I mean, I don't know what else I could say, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's the primary focus. It's just take care of our customers and they take care of
Yeah.
us.
So I have to ask the question, what are maybe one, maybe two of your favorite dishes that you make?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure that's hard to
Wow.
choose.
It really is. I mean, we've kind of done some new dishes lately, and sorry,
That's okay.
um, our kitchen puts out so many good things. Um, Probably one of my most favorite is our etouffee, because it's
Mm,
just hearty and good.
crawfish?
We do shrimp and chicken.
Yum.
You know, um, and andouille sausage too. So, um,
Yeah.
but that's probably one of my more favorites. And
Wow.
then
Sounds
we
good.
do, yeah, it's pretty
I'm a
tasty.
I'm a Cajun girl at heart. I grew up in New Orleans.
Ah, there you
Not
go.
born and raised, but long enough to
Long,
appreciate a
yeah,
good Cajun dish and etouffee and all that.
long enough there to be to grow a shadow, right?
Yes. So that
um,
sounds yummy. What else?
That one's really good. I mean, and having grown up where I did and when I did, I mean, I tend to migrate towards, kind of meat and potatoes
Mhm,
kind of a
mhm.
situation. So, I mean, we do, I mean, probably, oh gosh, if I have to go down that, probably our beef tender is my most favorite. And
Mm,
we do a beef tender with a, a cognac cream sauce and just these amazing smashed potatoes that not like mashed smashed, but like
yeah.
fingerling smashed on a grill top that's just then
Oh
crispy
my
and
gosh.
it's so good. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
might be
I
my
should have
favorite.
eaten before you had this. I knew I was gonna ask that. All right, so you're 16 years in. Where do you see the business even long term?
Um, crystal ball would be fantastic, but I'm hoping
Yeah,
that, we can ride this out until we're done, you know.
yeah.
Actually, it's really funny. My youngest daughter is kind of my little foodie. And so typically if we're on our daddy daughter dates, we will go to restaurants and we'll find different places.
Yeah.
And so
Fun.
she's one that will try anything at least once, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a lot of fun to just go and she's like right now she's like, all right, she wants to try sushi. She's 12 and she wants to give sushi
Awesome.
a shot. So we're looking for a good sushi joint and that'll be good for her and everything. So we were talking the other day and she said something along the lines of, it was the whole story of like, what do you want to do when you grow up? But that just kind of general
Yeah.
conversation. She was like, I'm gonna own what's for lunch.
Oh,
And
I
I was
love
like,
it.
I told her then, like, you go to culinary school, I'll hold on until you're out, but
Yeah.
it's that kind of a thing. But I mean, I'm not forcing either of my kids into doing what I
Yeah.
wanted to do. It's their life.
Right.
Um,
But I love that she's got that passion for it and she sees you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
So,
she loves to cook. She made scones Sunday morning for my
oh,
wife.
nice.
Just lemon
Wow.
glazed scones from scratch, you
So
know.
it's in her. It's in her.
Yeah, it's in her and she likes
Wow.
it. So
Yeah. Well, let's just go down that road a minute. Let's say that happens. You're obviously, or everybody has to think of some kind of exit strategy. And I think our listeners who own businesses like yours, you're constantly thinking that way. You're not living paycheck to paycheck. You're thinking long term. So, what kind of things do you put in place to make sure that if the day comes for an exit strategy, you're prepared?
it's always kind of been in the back of my head that I would love to sell or pass or whatever our business to one of our employees that would benefit
Hmm.
their family the way it's benefited ours.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it gives them that next around the turn
Yeah.
option possibility if that's something that they would ever be interested in. um and I'm older, so I'm hoping to be retired in the next 7 to 8 years
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But I also don't have a problem as long as I can still do what I got to do,
Yeah.
hanging out and having
Yeah.
fun because the people are fun and my
Mm.
staff is great. So I don't think that we necessarily have a specific exit strategy other than just trying to make sure that we are um I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Constantly cautiously
Mm.
pushing the boundaries, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
We want to continue to grow. We want to um continue to expand and to grow our client base and to because you know the part of the thing for me with owning a business and having employees is that I'm not only responsible for the livelihood of my family, but for theirs as
Mm.
well. They depend on that. They depend
Hmm.
on their jobs. They depend on being able to come in and show up and
Yeah.
get paid and do what they need to do. So I feel that responsibility as well. It's not a
Yeah.
money grab for me. It's kind of, give and get.
Yeah.
You get back what you put out.
Yeah.
And so I really would, as far as an exit strategy goes, I kind of think that it, just like in most things, you kind of get to a point where you're going, okay, well, it's winding down. What are
Yeah.
we going to do next? How are we going to do this? What's our best options? And then explore those, whether it's through a broker or whether it's through, going to one of our employees first and
Yeah.
saying, hey, we're thinking about bailing out of this in the next 18 to 24 months. Do you want to start putting some stuff together? Is it something you'd be interested
Yeah. Smart. I mean,
in? And I was,
you've bought the business, so you know how to sell the business. You've
right.
learned some things along the way. Yeah.
And I think we put it in a much better place than it was when we purchased it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, we've worked really hard to do that. And I mean, just even during COVID, we never shut down a day and we never fired an employee.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
that was our biggest, I mean, it was with the help of a lot of different things. I mean, with PPE payments and with grants that we applied for, and just help from a multitude of things, but it was also family and church and neighborhood and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends
Yeah.
and things like that that kept us going, because um all of that happened and shut down like the Friday that South by Southwest was supposed to
Yep.
start.
I remember. Oh, you
We
had a
were
big part in that, huh?
uh, we would have had a fifth quarter that year in 10 days.
Mm.
They would have actually, it was watching the news, we lost about $250,000. And um,
Wow.
so it was kind of like, "Ooh, okay, what do we do now?" But then you lick your wounds and go, how do we get through this? We've got our employees to take care of and we got to keep moving. So um, we went in Monday and sat down and had a meeting and said, this is what we're going to do. And we shifted all of
Mm.
our marketing um, to, you know, home delivery. And
Mm-hmm.
we did have one client that was a what did they call them? They were um oh my gosh, what was the name of the businesses that were allowed to stay open and without any issue? They were required, not required, but
Oh, essential.
essential. Yeah, so they were an essential business, and they'd been a client of ours for several years at that point. So they really were the driving force that
Mm.
allowed us to make payroll every week. You
Wow.
know?
Wow.
Um, and so everything else kept the lights on, and
Yeah.
our landlord was very generous in working with us and backing off the rent a good bit, and just so we had a lot of help from a lot of people, and
Yeah.
we would not have made it without that help.
Yeah.
But
And have you
that
recovered,
was
I'm sure, and grown past that?
we have
Yeah.
finally, we're still seeing a large part of our client base that hasn't come back yet.
Mm-hmm.
um but over the course of the last few years, we've actually kind of shifted in a different direction um and strategy. So it's kind of both are still part of the
Mm-hmm.
whole mix. It's just one is kind of outplaying
Yeah.
the other one right now.
Yeah.
Our dailies, by like what we call as our one-offs, and so that's the client that they may have one lunch or breakfast in a week, or they may have four, they may have
Mm.
half a dozen in a month, or they may have 12. But it just depends on that, but it's not an everyday thing, and we
Yeah.
have a
Ha
few clients that we do every day.
Oh, okay.
um
I was going to
so
ask, how many meals do you prepare a week, would you say?
on average we do a just on average daily we do about 300 plates, 325 plates a
A
day,
day.
something like that.
Wow.
um and that's between multiple locations, but that's
Mm-hmm.
about what it is. And then some days are more. Wednesdays for some reason have now become like our busiest day. you
Wow.
know and it used to be Thursdays. Just, and that's something you can't.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. It's like if I could write a book, I'd quit cooking chicken. So I
Yeah.
knew exactly what made it work.
Yeah.
But you
It's
don't. You
amazing.
kind of you do your best to guess, but you do learn trends and you start to see trends, but you have to pay attention to them as well. And it's like,
Yeah.
what direction is food going? Just that
Mm.
you can't kind of rest on, well, this is what we've always done and this is what we're always going to do, and if you don't like it,
Right.
then did it whatever. You have
Yeah.
to pay attention to what food trends
Yeah.
are, and you have to pay attention to social thing. I mean, most everybody's very eco-friendly now. They want their so
Yeah.
we everything we use is either biodegradable, compostable, or recyclable. So
Yeah.
it's
Makes sense.
that's something that we wanted. It's like let's do our part as best we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
You know,
So, how
um,
do you get the word out to new clients? One of your goals is to expand and to grow over the next few years. Can, just want to touch for a second on marketing and how you go about doing that.
that's that's the $1 million question, truthfully.
Yeah. For everybody.
Well, for everyone, but specifically for like I said, we're kind of a niche business, and
Mm-hmm.
we have over the years, over 16 years, we have tried, I think, every form of advertising there is except for billboards.
Mm.
That's the only thing we've never tried. And but what we do is so hard to describe. It's not like you can say, you know, corporate catering, we bring foods to you daily, da 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 da, all in like a 15-second ad, or even make
Yeah.
it make sense in a print ad, or make it make sense. We bought ads or sponsored podcasts, radio stations, television. We've done it all, but the hardest thing to get across is what it is that we do. So our biggest and most successful marketing has been um, guerrilla marketing, street marketing, banging on
Mm.
doors, dropping off
Yeah.
information and having 10 seconds to talk to somebody in front of them and let them ask their immediate questions, because
Mm-hmm.
there's always questions.
Yeah.
Um, and we get a lot of traction through our Google reviews because
Oh,
we've
uh-huh.
got a bunch of Google reviews and we've got a 5-star rating on there and on Yelp and Facebook as well. So a lot comes through there. The Google machine drives a lot of people because they'll just,
Yeah. It does.
delivered lunch,
Yeah.
lunch delivery, whatever it is, and we pop up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and fortunately, for a lot of folks, it's now become food deliveries a part of everybody's world
Mm-hmm.
now. I mean, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
groceries or DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever it
Mm.
is. So when we bought the business, we probably had, for very specifically what it is that we do, we probably had a half a dozen competitors
Mm.
total.
Mm-hmm.
Now every restaurant in town is a competitor because
Yeah.
every restaurant in town is on some form of a third party platform.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we can't compete with those dollars. We can't compete with DoorDash dollars or with Uber
Mm.
Eat dollars or with Cateries dollars or whoever it might be. We can't. We can't compete with their call centers, where
Oh,
they've got 50 people in a room just hammering out people on the phone going, do you need lunch? Do you need lunch? Whatever it is. And, think of
yeah.
us. We'll send you a 10% discount or, your first meal's on us or whatever it might be. We can't compete with that. So it is up to us more to stake our claim through great quality food, great quality
Mm-hmm.
service, customer care, and word of mouth is our biggest
Yeah.
form of advertising because people will listen to someone who tells them, you
Yeah.
know.
It's true. It's true.
And
Yeah.
it's like I said, we've just never found out that one thing that really kind of puts us in front of the people that we need to be in front of,
Yeah.
because our clients are executive admins and office managers
Mm-hmm.
and event planners and event coordinators and, that kind of a person. And it's very hard to kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
I
really
get that. Yeah,
find
for
the
sure.
medium that's going to hit them all.
Yeah. But it sounds like you've got a good client base for sure.
We do.
And have
We're
done really
very
well.
lucky.
Yeah.
We're lucky with that.
Well,
Very
before we
much so.
get into our fun rapid fire questions, share
Mhm.
with our audience maybe something you want us to know about what's for lunch, or maybe a success you've had recently.
Um, Probably, I mean, we've been now working with one of the largest clients that we've had, two largest clients that we've had in 16 years over the last couple of years. And I would like to hope that perseverance And reputation is what got us those accounts because they came
Mm.
looking for us. We didn't find them. So
Yeah.
that I feel is kind of it kind of speaks to the success of the work over the course of those years, is because
Hmm.
although, I mean, it's like they're calling us and going, hey, I need you to feed 150 people a day, or hey, I
Mm.
need you to do XYZ and run this or run that. And so with I want to say, sorry, I just had a weird pop-up come up on the screen. Just blocked your whole face out, Heather.
Oh,
So I would say that that's probably our biggest
that's
success, but it's
awesome.
been a long-term success. It's kind of like a built to that. And so
Hmm.
now
Yeah.
we're trying to kind of add to that and use
Yeah.
that
That's awesome.
momentum and use that, that experience, because that's new experience that we kind of
Hmm.
grew into as well. It's like you're going
Yeah.
from, I mean, there were days that, prior to COVID, we were doing 17 to 20 different deliveries in a day, and that would equal out to about the same number of plates, but we had to be all over town to do it.
Hmm.
Now we're concentrated in just a handful of little areas, and we're doing the same amount as we were, or even more. Um, and like I said, I think that those
Yeah.
freaking out at 10 o'clock at night going, how am I going to get this delivered? I can't, it was like, because that's when I
Yeah.
would put together delivery schedule every night before I went to bed, is the last thing I
Oh
did. And I would
gosh.
shoot that out to everybody and say, all right, here's we are. This is what time everything's got to go out. And this
Wow.
is where everybody's going. And this is what we need to do. And so it's like, I think that having to teach myself the logistics of how to make that happen have given us
Hmm.
the ability to define the logistics of what we've got to do now.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I hope that answers.
Congratulations. Yeah, it does. And congratulations on your two biggest clients. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
good.
you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. You ready to have some fun with some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right. What would you say is the key to success for you?
Um, I know it's not rapid fire. I mean, my success is that I get to see my family every day,
Mm,
and this business awards me that opportunity.
yeah,
And
I like that.
throughout the course of my daughter's lives, I was able to be home to put them down to sleep at
Yeah,
night. You know,
that's sweet.
that's probably
Sweet.
that I would say that most
Yeah,
likely.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's a great answer. All right, book or podcast? What are you reading or listening to right now?
Um, Podcasts vary. With just everything going on, I kind of stepped away from a lot of podcasts because it just seemed to be very political, is where I kind of
Yep.
went to, and I kind of was just inundated with that. So I've gone back to a favorite of, like, when I'm in the car putting on audibles.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I've gone back. I mean, I do some of the Audible originals, but I've also kind of started going through some of my favorite authors and going back and listening to their entire
Mm,
series of those characters that I like, or you know,
that's awesome.
that's kind of what I listen to, because I can kind of zone out a bit.
Yep.
And though, and I still kind of remember the book that I read 30 years ago. You know?
Yeah,
But,
that's awesome.
uh,
Yeah, that's
but
a good
at least
one.
pick it back up, and I can think what's in my head, and because it's always, you're running around and you're going, oh my gosh, I forgot to call this person back. I got to call him back, or or oh my gosh, this manager called me. I got to get back to him right now.
Yeah,
So the
I get
the
it.
minutia inside my brain and my ADH world is
Hmm.
kind
It's
of
that
keeps
thing.
me
I get
moving. Yeah,
it.
ping ponging.
Yeah. Well, this is the last one, but a little bit of a fun rapid fire. And it's
Okay.
this. If you had a little bit of magic dust and you could place it anywhere in your business, where would you
Hmm.
sprinkle it?
The bank account.
If you find that dust, let me know. Okay. I want some of it.
I will happily share some of that, some of Tink's special stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, before we get to the final question of the day, share with everyone how they can find you, follow you, or even hire you.
You can find us online at whatsforlunchaustin.com. We're not really on the socials so much anymore because we've shifted strictly pretty much to our website, and it's easier for us to talk to people in person. You can call us direct and speak to our amazing operation manager, Abby, at 512 388-6062, or feel free to email us at admin@whatsforlunchaustin.com.
That's awesome. I love that. All right. The final question of the day, which is one of my favorites, and that
Okay.
is, what's inspiring you today?
Oh my gosh. I think that, what I think is really cool right now, specifically in food, is that, for a good 10 or 15 years, maybe even a little longer, there was so much like celebrity chefdom, and everybody wanted, nobody wanted to just be a cook, or nobody wanted to
Yeah.
be just learn for the art of the sake of the food. And everything was like, bigger, better, faster, more, and it's got to be Guy Fieri, or it's got to be
Mm,
Gordon Ramsay, or Emeril Lagasse, or whoever, pick one. Um, and I feel that now food is kind of getting back to a little less chaotic and a little
mm,
more, let's focus on the ingredients, less show, better food,
mm,
better service. I just feel like I'm seeing that in a lot of restaurants, that the menus are getting pared down instead of growing. Um,
mm.
and you're finding people that want to concentrate on doing those dishes right, and not feeling like they have to cover the base of
Yeah.
everything. And that to me is inspiring, because that's what we've always kind of tried to do. Is it's like people are like, well, why don't you offer any, Asian dishes, or why don't you offer any, smoked briskets and things. It's like, well,
Mm.
we can, but that's not what we do, and we're
Yeah.
happy to do that, but
You're
that's
sticking
not
to what's
our thing.
true.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
I like,
it's like, I've got a good friend of mine that's a championship barbecue guy. You want barbecue, talk to him. Yeah,
yeah.
he's the one that can make that happen.
Yeah.
Um, so it's things like that. I think that as far as like in business goes, and in the food business, that I think is really cool to kind of see that coming back around.
Yeah. That's
People are
good.
finding the joy in a good sandwich again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
French
I love
dip, you
that.
could never go wrong with a good French
Never
dip.
go wrong. That's for
You know,
sure. Well,
or just a great po' boy from your New Orleans experiences. You
shrimp
know,
po' boy will do any
any
day
day of the
for
week,
sure. Any
any
day of
day
the
of the
week.
week.
That's true.
So, and just I don't even care what you bring me, just bring me one.
That's right. With some fries. Yes.
Right.
Well, this was so fun. And I'm going to have to just go get some lunch real quick now after eating or listening to just the yummy food. And I just encourage everyone that's listening today to first, if you have a business that needs some corporate catering, make sure you call Kevin at What's for Lunch and hire them. We love connecting locals with locals. So I think also Kevin just had some great advice for business owners who are looking to buy and to sell.
I
So
sure hope so.
you really did. So I just want to encourage everyone that's watching and listening today to don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. And thanks for joining us today. But a special thank you to our guest, of course, Kevin. Just loved having you here. It was great hearing your story.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's been a lot of fun. This was my first foray into this, so this has been great fun.
Well, you need to do more because you were great.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.